Welcome once again to the BizLife Podcast. We're recording from our studios in lovely downtown North Las Vegas. This is the BizLife Podcast. Welcome to another episode. My name's Mike Bindrup. I'm with the University of Nevada, Reno Extension, Small Business Education Program, and I'm joined here with my co-pilot extraordinaire today, Miss Brenda Bryant.
Hello.
Thank you, Brenda.
Welcome.
Thank you, Brenda. And we have a couple of extraordinary guests here today. Two staunch advocates for small business and fight for Nevada every day of the week. So, Peter Guzman, President of the Latin Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been called a lot of things extraordinary, not many times.
You're extra extraordinary. That's good. Yeah. And then we have U.S. Representative Stephen Horsford is with us from the Nevada's 4th Congressional District. So,
honored to be here.
Thank you for being here, Congressman. Thank you. So, pleasure to have you guys here. We were just talking about this earlier. We want you to share your origin stories. You know, where did you come from? How did you get to be a congressman? And how did you get to be the president of the Latin Chamber of Commerce? Those are pretty good questions I think people want to hear.
You want me to go first?
Why don't you go first, Peter?
All right. Yeah, Peter Guzman. I have the privilege and honor of being president of the Latin Chamber of Commerce. My dad escaped communism of Cuba, got out at a very young age, 19, I believe, got on a boat and made it to Miami. I was born in Miami. And then we actually landed in Lake Tahoe, like at 2 years old in the summer.
Wow.
And I don't remember the years and all that stuff, but it was summertime, and my dad thought he found heaven in Lake Tahoe, which can be heaven. But then winter came. He had never gone through a winter, and he said, "We're out of here." And I just wish he would have bought a piece of land in Lake Tahoe at that time, because I could only imagine what the prices were then. But headed to Las Vegas, where they were hiring a lot of Cuban folks that had because gaming was prevalent in Cuba. Anyway, so he came here, and so I've been here since I was basically 2 or 3 years old. Went to Chaparral High School. And there's a tie-in here. What you asked me, my background's real estate. I at Chaparral High School in 9th grade. I went to a football game at Chaparral. We were playing a school called Bishop Gorman, and I told my buddy, "Let's go there. They got nothing but rich girls. Let's go meet." And I really did say that. And so I went to that game. I looked up in the audience and I saw a young girl. And I couldn't get my eyes off of her. I waited till after the game. I said hello. She was with her mom. And turns out she was Cuban. Dad came from Cuba like my dad. And when he got here, was told that the American dream is if you have a daughter, you send her to private school and home ownership. And it's amazing. So I met the one girl at Bishop Gorman whose dad worked 2 dealer jobs, the Mint Hotel and... It's really unbelievable. The Mint Hotel and the Horseshoe, they were next door to each other. He'd get off one shift and work the next shift, 16 hours dealing cards, so that he can buy a house and send her to Gorman, or send her to a Catholic school, which at that time there was only one. So I met her, and today she's my wife of 37 years and the mother of my 2 greatest gifts in life. But why that ties in is because in the summer, at 15 years old, that summer, she worked her first job, and that job was the Latin Chamber of Commerce for a giant named Otto Merida.
Wow.
And I picked her up one day there, and that was the first time I met Otto Merida.
That's amazing.
You can't make this up.
Wow. How long have I known you? I've never heard that story.
That's you're getting it first hand, because I don't really like talking about me. It's contrary to what people think. Congressman, you didn't have to laugh at that. So I met this man. Now we fast forward. I'm married. I was hungry. I got into real estate based on doing my first real estate deal after living my first 7 months married in my dad's house. And my dad said, I was valet parking cars, tips, which we're going to talk about. Tips saved my life. I was working at the Sahara Hotel. I put away some money. And then the guy in the circle down the street from my dad said, I'm losing my house. I'm losing my wife. I went to the library, checked out a book called How to Do a Real Estate Deal. I bought that house, and I realized what I wanted to do in life, which was I want to do deals. I want to be in real estate. So I got into real estate, had a great run, great career. It's a blessing. And But the entire time I was a volunteer at the Latin Chamber of Commerce, did every board job, helping Otto.
Nice.
Otto used to grab me and say, look, you're making money and now you're forgetting about the Latin Chamber. No, you need to be a volunteer here giving back. He's the one that taught me about giving back because I was selfish. I admit it. I was thinking about my career and that's it. I'm glad that he talked to me the way he did. And then 8 years ago, he ran out of gas, told me that, and the chamber was running out of gas. And Harry Reid was a good friend to our chamber, helped him out, and he told Otto, maybe it's time to give it up.
Time to start.
Don't you have anybody? And then Otto called me, and he talked me into this thing. He said, you can still do real estate. You're only going to do about 20 hours a week at the chamber as president. 60, 70 hours later.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many times have you only done 20 hours?
But you know what? I'm a happier, blessed man because I feel like I'm able to give back and still deal with what my passion is, and that is entrepreneurs, people who take a risk, people who say, I want to do more than what I'm doing, and that's okay. And we're there to help them. So I'll shut up after that. That's my story.
Yeah, very good.
That's a good story.
I got to say, too, Peter, with the Latin Chamber, we've partnered on several different projects, one of which is the
Cafecito.
The Cafecito.
Changing lives.
Cafecito, women's entrepreneurship breakfast, entirely in Spanish, only event of its kind, and we just hit our 2-year mark with it this last week.
In fact, we're going to invite the congressman to come over and meet all the women.
Absolutely. It is
You'll love this group of entrepreneurs.
Party of parties. It's a lot of fun, even if you don't speak Spanish, right, Brenda?
Absolutely.
Brenda knows,
Yeah, the majority don't. I mean, they're bilingual, so that's okay.
And in addition to that, the Latin Chamber partners with us on all our Spanish version of the BizLife podcast. So it's really good. And now we're being picked up on Fiesta 98.1
Yes, we
radio on Sundays. So that's a great thing as well. So we always love working with Peter. And so thank you very much.
And I know the congressman's going to go next. Let me just say this before he starts, because I mean this. Me and the congressman have known each other a long time. No, we don't agree on everything politically, but we never try to hurt each other. In fact, he's helped our chamber. He's been a friend of the chamber, a partner of the chamber, and where we can't agree, we work real hard at it. That's okay. Folks out there who want to criticize, that's okay. Where we can't agree on, let's go as hard as we can, and he's always been receptive to that, and I appreciate that.
That's good.
Appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, Congressman. Let's hear your origin story.
Well, it's not unlike Peter's, but with different components along the way. So I'm a son of an immigrant. My mother came to the United States from Trinidad and Tobago when she was 12 years old with my grandmother. They first went to New York, and my grandmother, who's a domestic worker and did hair, a family actually asked them to come to Las Vegas.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My mom went to Bali. My grandmother worked a couple jobs, and shortly after I was born, my grandmother got sick, and as a result, she had a stroke. She became paralyzed and required around-the-clock health care.
Okay,
and because of that, they could never move back to their home country in Trinidad, and so. Long story short, my mom overcame a lot of obstacles. She was a dealer for many years at the Horseshoe, at the old Hilton, Bally's, a number of properties over the years. But she became a legal permanent resident and earned her U.S. citizenship in October of 2022.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Voting for the first time Fortunately, she's a constituent.
That always helps.
Unfortunately, I had to ask for her vote the same way as I do anybody else. But my mom's story and my grandmother helped to ground my story because I didn't understand always growing up that, because of my grandmother's illness, but it was Medicaid and Social Security that allowed her to have the care that she did those years. 27 years she lived in a nursing home.
Wow.
I am a product of the public school system here. Graduated from Clark High School, go Chargers, and the University of Nevada, Reno. So higher education. And this community, this state, this country has provided me and my family tremendous opportunities. An opportunity to have a good education, to have an opportunity to take that education and invest in myself through business opportunities as well as helping others. I ran Nevada Partners and the Culinary Training Academy after 9/11. I had one of those, what am I doing with my life moments? And I was asked to consider a position to help lead those organizations to where they are today. And I could have done a lot of different things, and I could have gone in a different trajectory in the private sector, but I decided to come back into the neighborhood where I was born and raised in the historic West Side. I lost my father to gun violence. He was shot and killed when I was a freshman at the University of Nevada, Reno. He was working as a cook in a local convenience store on the corner of Lake Mead and Ingolstadt, just a block away from where Nevada Partners and the Culinary Training Academy is today. So despite those obstacles, I've been blessed and tremendous opportunities. And I've always tried to pay that forward by creating opportunities for other people, whether that's opportunities to get skills training for good paying jobs in the hospitality industry or other sectors, helping small businesses get access to the tools they need to start or grow their business, the opportunities for our community to grow and develop into what it is today. While we have a lot of great things happening in this city, we still have some real challenges, and I'm cognizant of that as well. And that's one of the reasons that I'm honored to now serve as a House of Representatives. I honestly never planned to be in politics. I served as an intern in the Nevada legislature in 1993. I was a student in college, and I did that because someone told me I could earn 4 extra credits that semester. And I was like, damn, that sounds pretty good.
I love it.
We always need a good reason.
Yeah, so I drove from Reno to Carson City to go to the state's capital. Never had been there. When I walked in the first day, I didn't even have a tie because that wasn't something that I was accustomed to or had the resources even for. And it was Assemblyman Wendell P. Williams and others who took me to the local store to get a tie. So that I could go on the floor of the state legislature. Obviously, many years later, I returned as a Nevada State Senator, elected from my district, my community, and now serve in the House of Representatives. But one of the bills Peter and I actually worked on with Otto Morita and with Louis Overstreet was to build a program called VCOZ, Valley Community Opportunity Zone. And it was about bringing micro business grants to the communities that are underserved, particularly Black and Latino communities. And that is a program that Peter managed and administered, and
still going today.
All right.
Yeah. Still going.
I love it. I love it. That's what I love to hear.
Audited every year, 12 years, no blemishes ever. It's still going.
And tons of businesses.
Absolutely.
And Congressman, not to blow your flow, but during the hard time of COVID, there are businesses today that still are here today because of that grant program.
Exactly.
I tell people we do magic. And every year they used to cut a little bit back from us, and we still create magic with very little dollars.
And that's the thing. It's because it's opportunity, right? And there are budget cycles. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. Obviously, we're going through a period right now of cutbacks. But the fundamentals are we helping people create opportunity and get ahead, or are we excluding people from building opportunity for themselves, their families, and their community? I know with the Latin Chamber and other partners, we're about building opportunity. And right now, we all need to be focused on that and ways to get ahead.
Very good. Well,
if I may,
yes, please.
Just to jump in, what dawned on me literally right here, right now, doing this is awesome. This is awesome. This is an example of what others should view, see, and try to replicate. What do I mean by that? The man both of us just shared our life experiences. Mm-hmm. It is life experiences that bring us to where we are today. His one way, mine, it's all based on life experiences. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? We should embrace people's life experiences and learn from them. They are what make us the men that we are today and women that we are today.
It shapes us. And we all had mentors at a certain point. Just like you said, they took me and got, as simple as they had to get you a tie, right?
It was simple, but do you know how embarrassed I was? Not one, that I didn't know that I needed one because no one told me that. And two, that I didn't have the extra money because that was an unpaid internship.
Sure, I'm sure.
I had to scrounge up the money
just for the gas.
Exactly. To get to the internship.
Exactly.
But then to find out that was an expectation. And it's why to this day, making sure that with all of these programs, interns, scholarships, development programs, we're helping young people get exposure.
Exactly.
In the business sector, in government, my office, we do both high school and college interns here in the district and in Washington, D.C., so that they can get the exposure. Mm-hmm. And a lot of kids don't ever have that shot.
Look what that moment, look what that, some people would call a shortfall, an obstacle, whatever you want to call it. Look what happened, transformed you into one of the most powerful congressmen in the United States, in the greatest country in the world. That's what that did. That's what it can do. I have an intern that I'm telling you, I remember the day I went out and bought the kid a suit. When he put that suit on, it literally, physically, mentally changed him.
Changed his
it's
life.
Another world.
A suit.
Yeah.
And now, this guy wants to take my job. Jorge, shout out to Jorge.
I already like him. Well, I when I'm working with the students, and even when I was working with clients when I was at SBDC, I talked to them about the S on the chest. I used to make a joke that S on the chest sometimes stands for stupid, but I've changed that. We need to be positive. The S on the chest stands for support. And if we don't support one another, we all lose.
Yeah, and
That's true.
That's exactly right. And it doesn't mean you have to agree on policies, on every policy.
We can agree to disagree.
Right, but we are in this community, and we should all be striving for a better community.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That looks a little different to some folks, but you know what? I don't question nobody's heart and intentions, because their life experiences have made them believe the way they do, and that's okay. Where we can kick some butt, let's do it.
Mm-hmm. And let's converse. Let's actually have conversations, not arguments, not accusatory remarks. Let's talk. Mm-hmm. Let's talk in a way that what I say, you hear in the manner I mean it. Yeah. And when I teach communication skills, I talk about, it's not about I speak, you listen. It's about we both understand. We don't have to agree, but we do need to understand.
Yeah.
Well, that's why these podcasts are honestly so important, and creating the space for these conversations to happen.
For it to happen.
We're busy. Life is busy, raising families and kids going to college. I'll have 3 kids in college this fall.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Can you make that money sign go right now? We need some.
Ding, 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 ding. But the point is that you do need to step back and be able to listen to others so you can learn from them.
So you can learn from it.
Especially to lead them. You can't lead the people if you can't listen and learn from the people.
Absolutely.
And that's a great point.
In this moment, especially, we need more time to do that across communities.
Yes.
In coalition, where we agree, where we don't agree. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we think we don't agree and find out, well, damn, we probably agree on more than we don't.
We're pretty close. Mm-hmm. We're pretty close.
That's great. And what you just said about allowing a format like this to let that happen, we're not worried about ratings here. So we're not doing gotcha moments and fake journalism. We're about having a real conversation
Absolutely.
here, because I'm not going to question that man's love and desire for this community, and he's not going to question mine.
When I first moved to Nevada, which was in 2001, one of the things that I liked about it was it did not matter who was Republican and who was Democrat. It mattered that they were Nevadans.
We love, so especially being a native, I know that many people have moved here over the years, and I didn't quite understand it again growing up because I'm not fifth generation, third generation Nevadan, but Nevada is a special place. And I know a lot of people say, no, every city or every community is special, but from Tahoe to central rural Nevada, I represent 50,000 square miles throughout the state of Nevada. My congressional district is half of the state.
It's huge. Yeah.
From every corner, there's beauty in it. Mm-hmm. There's people who are working hard in it. There are the small businesses that are trying to get ahead, especially in some of our rural communities. And then when you look at the diversity, not just of demographics, but of geographic diversity.
Yeah,
I love every part of it, and it also challenges me to have to be open to understand a different way of life, a different upbringing, a different background, a different priority, and to make sure that me and my staff are being responsive to those needs. Mm-hmm. You know, I go from land issues to water issues to housing issues to economic issues, but they're all important to somebody.
That's right.
They all tie in.
That's right.
That's true. Thank you. I was going to say, in our small business environment that's going on right now, I wanted to get you guys' impression of, you hear the people every day. What are the needs you're hearing from your constituents? And we'll start with Peter. What do you hear? What's going on in people's heads right now? There's a lot of change going on, and what's kind of the word on the street?
Well, listen, at the end of the day, the majority of my members, they have the fundamentals to be successful. What are the fundamentals in entrepreneurship? Work ethic, the ability to adjust. They come from chaotic countries and want to just come here for the opportunities that the Congressman is talking about. So they have these fundamentals within them, right? These folks work 18-hour days if they have to. Their mom works there. There could be 3 generations working in one of these restaurants or one of these companies, right? That's a fundamental, and that's why they're successful. Listen, gas prices, that affects
everybody.
Of course, tariffs. If tariffs are whatever's creating egg prices to stay high, that affects a guy. Imagine if you're a restaurant and your main component is breakfast. I mean, why is it hard for people to understand? I've had people tell me I'm silly when I talk about egg prices being an indicator on how things are going. Mm-hmm. And to the point where finally Mary Daly from the Federal Reserve actually said, you're brilliant for bringing that up. We actually can prove that egg prices matter. Yeah, and if you run a breakfast spot, you're damn right. Egg prices matter.
Really matter. Yeah.
I mean, there's tight margins as it is. So these things matter. Like, you're playing with people's lives when you talk about, when you're not sensitive to the fact that, we're not going to trade with Canada. Okay, what does that mean for my business owner? Mm-hmm. It means something, and that's why I'm involved.
Yep. Well, you just hit a really important issue. So international travel, which is a third of the visitors who come to Las Vegas are international travelers. 15% of those international travelers come from Canada.
Wow.
That travel is down 17% since the beginning of this year.
Which is huge. Yeah.
And month over month, we're watching the indicators very closely, because what that means is jobs. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what that means is impact to small businesses. Small businesses in Southern Nevada, a third of their revenue is directly tied to hospitality. Whether it's because they have contracts with the hotels or because their workers, spend their money at those small businesses. The local cleaners knows when there's a downturn in the economy, locally or not.
What's your impression of the small business environment right now?
Yeah, well, I met recently with the North Fifth Brewery. It's a Nevada brewery here, of course, but it's a Latino-owned brewery.
Awesome place.
I went 3.5 years ago for the opening of the brewery, and it's a family story. The dad loaned his kids money from his retirement so that they could start their dream to open this business.
The brewery.
And they received a Small Business of the Year award back a few years ago.
They did.
We worked with them through the pandemic. They survived that. So I went back to check in on them because of these tariffs to find out how they were managing, right? And tariffs are taxes that the American people pay. It's not paid by some foreign government. And for businesses, particularly small businesses, it affects how they project everything from what they're going to buy, where they're going to buy it from. So when I was going in that day, they were trying to get an advanced shipment on the aluminum that they needed for the cans for the beer.
Yep.
They had just started to can their beer because they're a brewery. They mostly do tap.
On tap, yeah.
So all of this is to say businesses want to see economic opportunity. They don't want to deal with economic instability or
Exactly.
uncertainty.
Exactly.
That
100%.
causes them to have to hold back on creating
Mm-hmm.
more jobs, hold back on buying new equipment.
Expansion.
Right. And
Exactly.
and I am trying to make sure that those business owners know that I'm listening to them, that I'm taking what they're telling me and using it in the arguments that we're making back with my colleagues in Congress. I had the trade representative before my committee recently, and initially I was going to be talking about the impact of these tariffs on travel because we've seen a huge decline on our international travel here. But unfortunately, it was the breaking news of the day, and so I got diverted into some other issues. But the bottom line is businesses want to thrive.
Yep.
Workers and people want to thrive. We don't want to just survive. We don't want to just get by. And we need to get back into being more secure in our economy, and that's what I'm working towards every single day.
Good, good. Tell us a little bit about the TIPS Act. And I'm pretty proud that we're as the caucus in Nevada. You guys are proposing this nationally. This has gotten headlines all over the place. And tell us a little bit about why you proposed it and what you're proposing.
So let me first provide a little context, right? Tipped workers here in Southern Nevada, we have 100,000 tipped workers. We have more tipped workers here in Southern Nevada than any other place in the country.
Wow.
Tipped workers are the food servers. They're the bartenders. They're the valet workers. And fortunately, because the tipped workers have organized and passed legislation, in Nevada, they're paid at or above the minimum wage. We're one of only 6 states in the country that have that minimum wage. In most places in the country, tipped workers make as little as $2.13 an hour.
Yes. Yes.
And there was an arrangement way back when that tips would be used as income to support, and in my argument, supplant the wages they should have been paid. So this was a big discussion during the campaign. Obviously, President Trump, then Vice President Harris, all ran on these issues. I'm in office. I'm elected. These are constituents that I hear from all the time. And so I met with workers to really get their perspective of what we needed to do. So I've introduced a bill called the TIPS Act. My bill does 2 things. It eliminates the income tax on tips because tips are a gift. There is no guarantee.
Exactly.
You can get it one day and not the other.
Yeah.
And it's based on your service you give people. That's what we know.
Yeah, but it's not secure enough anymore, especially with all these new payment platforms and all that. So we definitely want tipped workers to keep more of their hard-earned money and not to have that income tipped. But we have to be careful on how we do it because we also want them to contribute to their Social Security so that when they retire, they can retire with dignity. So my bill ensures we do that. It provides some safeguards so that it can't be abused by millionaires or people call an inheritance
A tip.
a tip
That makes sense.
and then not have to pay tax on it. We don't want that. And then we also made sure that we defined what a tipped worker is so that there's not abuse, right? All of these are important considerations, and they're things that I got input from the workers and the people that are in the industry that know this best. The other provision that I'm advocating for is the increase of that sub-minimum wage to at least the federal minimum wage so that we take 6 million workers today in America, tipped workers, make as little as $2.13 an hour. 70% of them are women, and the majority of them are Latino and Black. And I believe that everyone deserves a livable wage. And as we work to raise the wages of all workers and create opportunity for all businesses to thrive, that we cannot continue to have a sub-minimum wage. And we can't say we're going to eliminate the tax on tip if we're not also willing to increase the wage for these workers across the country. So my bill does this. When I get back on Monday, I don't know when this airs, but we're going into the next few weeks of negotiation and votes on these measures. And because the president has made it a big part of his agenda, and I've brought legislation to do the same thing. I'm working with my Republican colleagues right now on the Ways and Means Committee to reach some type of an agreement so that whether it's my bill or the provisions of my bill, I don't care about getting credit. I want to get the legislation right, and I want to make sure that the workers that I represent here, the tip workers, get to keep more of their hard-earned money, and that we lift the wage of workers where they deserve to get paid more.
And think about that for a moment. Guess what happens when you allow tip workers to keep more? The concept makes me laugh, but it's their tips that they earn for giving great service, right? That my dad lived off his tips. But here's the thing. When they get to keep more of it, guess what they're going to do with that money?
They spend it.
It's
in Nevada.
This is economic development. This is economic development. It's not a handout. It's not anything else. It's economic development.
So, just in a nutshell, we're looking to say no taxes on tips, but we're still going to be paying into Social Security, so we don't underfund that, right? And then raising the sub-minimum wage to the federal minimum wage, right? Correct. Which we've already kind of done.
We've done that.
We're okay in Nevada, but there's a lot of states that you're right, $2.13 an hour. That's what they're coming down to.
Well, and listen. I know some of my friends get upset when I start talking about this, but time's up. Let me tell you something. Yeah. It's all economic development. Yes. When you allow a breadwinner to to make more money, guess where that more money gets spent? Right in the communities, in the restaurants,
where it needs to be.
So I always say to my friends on the Republican side, I say, come with me to one of my union friends' meeting, and I did this actually. I did this with somebody. I'm not going to mention names, but I took him to one of the big unions in town who were members of my chamber, because I have no problem fighting for union and non-union constructions. Exactly. Okay, but the pay better be up there, because I'm not supporting you if you're non-union and you're paying $7 an hour. I'm not doing it. But that being said, I took somebody to the parking lot. I wanted to show them what the parking lot looked like. And I told them, we were there in my car. I said, look around. You know what you saw? Beautiful brand new trucks. These guys, when they build and they make money, they go buy trucks, which means that's good for our economy. They buy houses, which is good for our realtors. Yeah, it goes on and on and on. This is economic development, and that's how we should talk about it.
Yeah. And the final point, just want to make sure everybody understands this. The final point was you want to close a loophole in the inheritance tax. I can't just say I'm tipping my kid $1 million, right? Which sounds pretty fair.
I am on the Ways and Means Committee, so our committee deals with tax policy, trade policy, healthcare policy, Social Security, Medicaid, and other things. The federal tax code is the most powerful document and provision of federal law that we have to create incentives for behavior. I am for economic opportunity. I just want that economic opportunity to be inclusive
across the board
for everyone. And I want for us to be fighting to make permanent tax breaks for moms and dads, for small businesses, to make sure that tip workers have the ability to get ahead, just like anybody else. I'm not against people doing well. I'm not against wealth. But what I am for is making sure that work pays for itself, that you have the dignity of a good paying job, and that every American deserves, after a lifetime of working hard, putting their kids through school, building or owning a home, paying rent, and doing what we can to get ahead, that they're able to retire in dignity. And there are ways that we can shape our policy, especially our tax policy, that does that. And these are the issues that we're debating. And again, the more that we can have these conversations with the people who are directly affected, that will help inform how we get this right. Tip policy is a very complicated policy.
Sure.
So you got to have people in the room, including the workers and the businesses, at the table helping to shape it. And that's part of what I've been able to do because of really my experience here in the community. Because had I not had those experiences, I wouldn't be able to convene those conversations. So wish me luck.
Good luck on
Monday.
Monday.
We'll see how it goes over the next few
Keeping more
weeks.
money in our pockets means more money we're going to spend, Congressman.
Well, we're wishing you luck because we're wishing us luck too.
That's right.
Well, and then Peter, how do we get in touch with you at the Latin Chamber?
You just call 702-385-7367. Talk to Andrea or Beatrice. They've been there a long time. We got some Crystal Ray interns over there getting paid. I just love it. And listen.
I've got some of those students.
Of course you do. I know you do.
Good.
And we're changing lives. So call us at the Latin Chamber. If we can help you, we will. We recently got a big grant. Two actually big grants from the from Dieter and the county because we're good custodians. And by the way, I owe that to Congressman who started us with VCause. We've shown that we're good custodians of funds. We give it right back to those folks. So call us.
Excellent. Thank you, Peter. And thank you for being on the show today. Congressman, how do we get in touch with your office here locally?
702-963-9360 is our direct number. Jessica and the team will take your call. We are here to serve and to be responsive. You can also go to my website at horsford.house.gov or any of our social platforms it's at Rep Horsford.
At Rep Horsford. Thank you both for being on the show today. This was wonderful, and go do something great in your business today. Thank you.
All right.
Good?
Good.